Top of the morning, Washington Commanders Nation. We are on NFL Draft Week Eve, the last day before the start of NFL Draft Week. And what a week it was for news in Washington Commanders Nation. It got a little messy this week. Social media posturing, politicking. It was the NFL Draft's version of some Game of Thrones style politicking taking place. And Jayden Daniels, publicist, has come in and saved the day. She's come in and fixed the situation. So let's get right to it. The other night, if you were paying attention on Washington Commanders Twitter, I have to remember and remind myself sometimes that not everybody's on social media, but for the fans like me that obsess over every aspect of the team, the other night on social media, Jayden Daniels' agent, Ron Butler, he gets on Twitter and he fans the flames of people who had negative things to say about how Washington has handled the last week of meetings with draft prospects. Guys like Mike Florio, who were poo-pooing the fact that we were kind of group dating the crop of quarterbacks instead of giving Jayden Daniels the Caleb Williams roll out the red carpet and get his own day type treatment. Ron Butler, agent of Jayden Daniels, liked a tweet that said, "How many companies do this? Puts them around their peers, brings players from the teams along and see how they interact. Who the F cares how they interact with players they will never play with? This doesn't make any sense to me." And he liked a Mike Florio tweet that was saying that bashes the Commanders for bringing in 4 quarterback prospects all at the same time. Quote unquote, "Why would you dilute your ability to get maximum time and just the opportunity to evaluate? You're trying to evaluate 4 guys at once." Let me debunk that first of all, because these are fucking idiotic statements. Crazy that I censored myself reading a tweet, but I don't censor my own thoughts because that's not what we do on this channel. But it's crazy that cuck ass Mike Florio and anyone that thinks like him actually believes that the actual meetings with these players were in group sessions. The meetings were all separately. They were all isolated and conducted in a one-on-one type fashion with each player. The night before the meetings was like a mixer. It was the NFL draft prospect Catalina mixer, if you will. Pass the sangria. Let's knock some balls off the tee. Let's interact with the guys we have here. It's all for shits and giggles and socialization. Honestly, the human aspect of this, I don't know how you could feel this way. These guys go through so much during the draft process. To be able to let your hair down and just kick it with some college football playing peers of yours, I don't see how this could have ever been an issue. But the agent of Jayden Daniels comments an emoji on that, and he likes both of those tweets that I just read, liking the bashing of Washington Commanders Nation. And we all piled on the agent all night on Twitter. And there was a lot of fans out there saying, this is stupid. This is not a big deal, yada, yada, yada. The next day comes and the entire national media circuit runs wild with this. "Oh, this wasn't a big deal, right?" But then Adam Schefter goes on McAfee and talks about it. He says the agent of Jayden Daniels is not happy with the way that the week played out. And every NFL insider goes on to talk about this on a national scale. So what you thought was a big nothing burger turned out to be a big something burger. And he never unliked the tweets. I'm going to be completely frank with you. The way that I see Ron Butler like things and move on Twitter, it tells me that this guy doesn't know that people can see his likes. I don't think he knows that his likes are visible because he moves on Twitter like me or like a regular average Joe. Some of the things he likes with the Instagram hoes and all the basic shit that he gets into on Twitter, he not moving like an agent that's been representing players for a decade plus in this league. Also has another agent, Ira Turner, as well. He has a crew of random unknown agents, and if he ends up being our quarterback, I think we need to get him some better representation in here. Ira Turner comes out. He also tweets that nothing to see here, pretty much calls it cap that they have a problem with Washington. And it's been kind of a messy week on the Jayden Daniels front, but it takes us to now 4 days before the draft. Jayden Daniels, his publicist speaks, and she cleans up the entire situation. She posts a video talking about the Jayden Daniels agent situation, and she says, Jayden Daniels is excited to be a part of the NFL, and wherever he is drafted, he will be happy to be a part of that organization. And when I read that, I was like, who is Denise White? And what is this company she represents? So I immediately went to deep dive mode. So Denise White, they call her the Fixer. She is the CEO of EAG Sports Management for public relations, marketing, crisis management, and branding. It also says she's an animal lover and activist and CNN contributor. But I immediately was like, I need to know who this person is. So in 1996, she founded EAG Sports Management. Her notable clients so far has been Tony Gonzalez, Jared Allen, Vince Young, Terrell Suggs, Tyrann Mathieu, Patrick Peterson, Deshaun Jackson, Jarvis Landry, Joe Johnson, Austin Rivers, and UFC fighter in head case, John Bones Jones. So she has quite a history of working PR, branding, and crisis management for all of the athletes I just named. Her managerial style has earned her a notable reputation among sports news outlets, with CNN and other folks referring to her as the Olivia Pope of the sports world. If you don't know who Olivia Pope is, she was the protagonist to the show Scandal. She was a crisis management person. You already know how that went down on that show if you watched it. They call her the woman who bails out the NFL bad boys. And they were even going to make a movie about her, a biopic starring Jennifer Aniston called The Fixer. And never came out, but very interesting story. But she's the cleanup person. She is batting. I mean, she's pitching relief. She comes in to clean up the mess of the other two ragtag random agents that Jayden Daniels has. She cleans it up, and we get to end the week saying nothing to see here. A messy week it was. And guys, take a breath for a second, sit back, kick your feet up. We are 4 days away from Washington getting its franchise signal caller of the future. And I think the things that happened this week on social media, it was just another storyline in the messy process that is the NFL draft. Because ultimately, while it may have turned some of us off as fans, no players getting really drafted by the team that they prefer to go to. You get drafted by whoever selects you. Unless you're the first pick and you're able to wield your leverage to go to a different place, you're going to get drafted by a team you don't want to go to. And we don't know what Jayden feels about the situation. I know a lot of us felt maybe this was his doing and his agents were acting in his honor. To me, it just reads like guys who don't exactly know what they're doing that represent him, who did not know that people could view their likes on Twitter. But Jeremy Fowler, he kind of also stamped that this was a real situation to monitor. He was saying that Washington, and he spoke to somebody involved in Daniels' process who openly wonders, is Daniels looking at his options right now? And he said that Daniels does have genuine interest in playing for the Las Vegas Raiders, which we've spoke about on the channel multiple times. He spoke about it on his IG Live. And if you just look at his face and the way he's smitten, the way he swoons, and looks like he almost blushes when they bring up the possibility of him reuniting with Antonio Pierce in Vegas. So that's always been a thing. Here's the thing. The Raiders pick at 13. You're not going to be a Raider. The only way you can be a Raider is if we take May at 2 and they trade up to number 3, because the farthest Jayden Daniels is sliding in this draft is number 3. Let's call it what it is. It's the absolute truth. Vegas is not happening unless something drastic takes place at this point. What happened this week is as simple as this. He thought he was going to get the rose from the Washington Commanders, the Bachelor style. And he showed up to Washington for a motherfucking group date. He showed up for a group date. He showed up to be speed dated group date style, like this is The Bachelor penultimate episode, not the finale. He expected a rose upon arrival. He got there, and the other hose was in the building as well. He had to compete with the other hole. Hey, pass the sangria at the mixer. I'm waiting for my one-on-one time with Adam Peters. He had to go compete in speed date. Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. Feelings are gonna come into the game. People are human, but I think ultimately this is going to be nothing to see. And if we select him, which I still think we're trending towards doing so on Thursday, this is going to be a big nothing burger. And we're going to be like so ecstatic and so excited going into the rest of the draft and the rest of the offseason, going into the 2024 training camp aspect and then regular season. And then Ralph Vacciano comes out and says, I also talked to a commander source who described the issue as just noise and insisted it would have no impact on their decision. They also have no reason to believe that any of the top quarterbacks would be unhappy in Washington. So if they decide to go Daniels, they will take him. Nothing to see here, guys. Exactly. And here's how I view it from a big picture standpoint. I think they've known their guy for a little bit now. We're in the confirmation phase of the draft process. They've watched every nook and cranny of these guys' college careers. They've watched every drop back. They've seen every press conference. They've investigated who they are mentally, psychologically, as people. They know who they are on the field. They know who they are off the field. It's more of confirmation. Let's get these guys out for here for a couple days. Let's see how they are when they get off the plane. Let's see how they are when they get in the building. How do they mix it up with other guys? Are they social? Are they talking? Are they laughy? Are they leader-like? Who do other players gravitate to? They weren't basing their draft decision on who's smacking the ball off the tee. And if they were, that's easily Drake made because he got the country club golf build already. He's like a PGA Tour 2024 golfer. But they're not deciding who they're going to pick off of a mixer at Topgolf. People have to sit back and think sometimes. Like, just think about the logic you're putting out. I think from a posturing standpoint, some of this stuff is egregious, but from a are they going to draft or not draft a guy standpoint, they weren't basing any decisions off of this Topgolf thing. So Topgolf gate is not a gate. It's not a scandal, and it should not be nearly as salacious as people made it to be. It was fine when the Patriots have done this for years, when the San Francisco 49ers have done this for years. It doesn't get stench on it till it comes through Washington because we've been this incessant punching bag and butt of jokes for the last 2 decades, and reasonably so. But I'd like the national media and the people outside of the area who aren't familiar with how we've changed as a franchise, how the franchise has turned its hands over to actual business savvy, football intelligent people. This is not your same old Washington. This is not typical Washington Redskins Snyder shit that's taking place here. This is called due diligence. This is called no stone unturned. And we've got some real people running shit here in DC now. Some of the most respected and revered people throughout the entire NFL are running the show now here in DC. This is not your typical Washington. Stop treating it like it is. We are 4 days away from selecting the quarterback of the future, the linchpin, the foundational piece to build around in Washington, the franchise quarterback, something I've dreamed about my entire life as a fan here. I've watched every style of quarterback come, go, and fail here. I've watched every ethnicity, every playing style, every size style of quarterback come in here and fail. I've seen it done in a multitude of ways, so I go in with no biases. I don't like a guy based on what they look like. I don't like a guy based on their playing style. Get me a goddamn quarterback that the entire organization agrees on. I want the front office and the coaching staff and the ownership group in lockstep. Ownership group last on that list, by the way. I want them in a handshake agreement. This is the guy we trust running our organization. and being the face of our franchise. This is the CEO character we want behind center for the next 5 to 10 to 15 years going forward. I want to know what it feels like to see a quarterback make it to his second contract here in DC. I want to know what it feels like to see a quarterback throw for 30 touchdowns in a season. I want to know what it feels like to go into every season expecting at minimum a playoff run, because the guy you got behind center always will get you and punch you a ticket to the dance. I want to go dancing every year. I want to put on my dancing shoes in January every year. Look at the Bills. Look at the Chiefs. Look at the Bengals. They know that if their quarterback merely stands upright for 17 weeks, they have a ticket to the dance, and the golden ticket, Willy Wonka golden ticket style. They have a chance to go to the title game every season because of who they selected at quarterback. Stop diminishing the position. Stop acting like you're going to get there without it. Without one of these, you don't even have a chance in this league. Do not kid yourself. We are now 4 days away. And currently, as we sit there, I think Jayden Daniels is still the leader in the clubhouse to be the selection. But here's a plot twist. Rick Spielman. You guys remember when the season ended and we fired Ron, and immediately we got breaking news that Josh Harris has brought in Bob Myers, former executive of the Golden State Warriors, and Rick Spielman, former longtime GM for the Minnesota Vikings. He brought them in as counsel and to help him select the general manager and the head coach of the football team. Bob Myers is still on as a council member. Rick Spielman's job is done, but that's a relationship that still exists, and he's very plugged into everything that's happening here. On the First Pick podcast with Ryan Wilson, a CBS Sports podcast yesterday, he was asked about who's Washington taking at number 2, and he said, I think May doesn't get past number 2. I think Drake May is going to be the guy there. I'm not going to scoff at his opinion because he's been here. He's been in the building. He knows how things operate here. I'm not saying Adam Peters or Dan Quinn and company are giving him a cheat sheet, but when he talks, I would at least listen because he knows what's going on in this building. Is it smokescreen? Is all of this a smokescreen for us to draft Drake May? Was all the Jayden Daniels shit a smokescreen just to make the league messy for a week and to throw people off? Who knows? A lot of things are said, and not everything holds merit during the draft season. The draft season is one big dramatized HBO series. It really is. And it reminds me of the movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner. It's literally one of my favorite sports cult classics of all time, because as a guy who obsesses over the NFL draft and the draft process, I can watch that movie 100 times when it comes to draft week. And you can't tell me that's not the greatest movie of all time when we're a week out from the draft. And I think my favorite part about the movie is that it's so unrealistic and it's so stupid, but it's so dumb that it's fun. And it gets me so happy to watch it every year. I seen for whom the J Bell tolls on Twitter, he described Draft Day so perfectly. Like, this encapsulates my feelings about the movie so perfectly. He said, the movie Draft Day is amazing. They literally call Sonny Weaver Jr. the most desperate GM in the league to start the movie. He pays an absolute king's ransom to get a quarterback at the number 1 pick, then decides to draft an off-ball linebacker who can't be more than 230 pounds, who has been projected in the teams, RIP Chadwick Boseman, by the way. Then he trades around to take a running back in the top 10. He decides to pass on a generational quarterback prospect because someone told him that no one went to his birthday party, and then decided to stick with his veteran quarterback who they've discussed previous times has injury problems, extensive injury problems on the lower body aspect. His biggest flex of the whole movie is getting a punt returner. Shit, I say his biggest flex was Jennifer Garner, but his biggest flex of the whole movie is getting fucking David Putney, because he feels like it. If you know the movie, if you know, you know. And then the movie ends pretending like the Browns aren't about to go 6-10 and get Sonny Weaver fired as Bo Callahan wins Rookie of the Year. That's hilarious because that is exactly how I feel about draft day. Like I literally tweeted like 4 days ago. I wonder what the trajectory of Bo Callahan's career turned out to be. And I wonder how correct Seattle was for getting him and how stupid Sonny Weaver and the Browns looked for drafting an off-ball backer and a running back with 2 top 10 picks. He drafted a linebacker that was probably supposed to go like 24th with the first overall pick. God, I love that stupid ass movie. I hope me and the boys watch that on Thursday. But y'all, it is draft week. It's Drake May versus Jayden Daniels versus JJ McCarthy season. The draft starts at 2. It starts with us. We control the cards of the NFL draft. Caleb Williams is already a Chicago Bear. He already probably has his skyline Chicago penthouse picked out already. The draft starts at us, and then it gets fun. You're going to watch me and my boys on stream in a prayer circle trying to will us back on the board to get a tackle or a wide receiver in the first round. We're 4 days away. I'll be on with Josh Taylor tonight on the JTFB channel talking all draft things. Bleacher Report stream on Wednesday. They're doing a content creator mock where they have a content creator representing all 32 teams. I will be the Washington Commanders representative. I'll be making a pick there. Content to come all week. I will be having wrap-ups done after each player we draft. And for Thursday and Friday night, there will be full draft reaction streams going throughout the full first, second, and third round of the draft. Me and the boys are going to be together acting a whole fool. Join us in the chat. If you come, please try not to tip picks. We use YouTube TV. There's a bit of a lag. Try not to tip picks, but we'll probably just not talk to the stream until after the selections are made. We'll probably just be doing our own thing, shits and giggles and wilding in my boy's crib. It is now NFL draft week. Be excited, throw on some burgundy and gold and get ready because we got a franchise quarterback signed, sealed, and delivered coming home to Washington in 4 days. That's all I got for right now. Until next time, hail to the Washington Commanders. Commander Rio, out.